Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. Always glad to bring to you updates. Glad to get those updates from the people that are in the know about what's happening. We welcome back to the program Beryl Amedee, of course, Louisiana State Representative, District 51. Glad you're here.
Glad to be back.
All right, we appreciate it. Let's give a little bit of an update. I know everybody's dealing with recovery, but maybe from your perspective, how things are going with some Hurricane Ida recovery.
Well, it seems that they're going fairly smooth right now, and I know that it might not feel that way to the person standing in their house still waiting for an adjuster or sheetrock materials, but overall, I have to say that in my house district, we had some damage everywhere, but we had major damage down the bayous, especially in Dularge, Dulac, Terrio, and all that. And I have to say, every time I go down the bayou, it looks a little better each time. There's progress, and that's good.
Yeah, you go down there and there's a little bit less debris on the side of the road. There's a few less blue roofs. There's sometimes a little bit more of the inside of a house taken out, but that again is progress.
It's all progress, right?
You know, in fact, I had to remind myself that thing. I've had to kind of get sheetrock out of my yard for the last 3 weeks or so, but my reminder is you're able to get sheetrock in the house, so that means sheetrock was out on the sidewalk. So it's just a little bit of a reminder. So that's kind of how things are going for that. How about some of the people around you? Some of the people that live around you got some damage as well, right?
Well, yes. I live in northern Terrebonne Parish, and yes, there was damage there too. Mostly shingles and roofs, and maybe if you were unfortunate enough to have a tree fall on your house or your shed or your vehicle. So it's not as widespread as down the bayou, but we're recovering all over, and I'm pleased to say that several weeks ago when I was standing on the roof of my shed, I took photos of my neighborhood from that vantage point, and the number of blue tarps has greatly reduced. And I know the number of flat tires has
greatly increased.
Yes, that was my adventure yesterday, in fact.
Wow.
But it is still progress. And one of the things we're hearing a lot of right now is insurance complaints. Many people are having to deal with insurance companies, and some of them I'm actually getting compliments about, and some seem to be on the list for the most complaints, unfortunately. And so I wanted to let people know, if you don't mind, that in order to file a complaint concerning your insurance company, the simplest way to do that is to go to the website of the insurance commissioner, the Louisiana Insurance Commissioner.
Right.
And that would be www.ldi.la.gov. That's LDI, Louisiana Department of Insurance, .la.gov. And the very first thing that comes up on the page is a blue banner that says, need to file a complaint? And they will give you a hand if your insurance company has been unresponsive, or if they're very delayed in doing what they're supposed to. The insurance commissioner's office is willing to help.
Yeah, and that's Jim Donald's office, right?
It is.
And he's actually been down here. He was here last weekend, listening to some of the concerns and some of the complaints about what was happening for people and their issues, and so really glad. And they have been very responsive through that office, trying to get the insurance companies to do what they're supposed to do.
And they've made the offer to come to town, and if I wanted to hold little town hall meetings here and there, they're willing to come. And I also have a list of some town halls that are coming up, not necessarily with the insurance commissioner's office, but with a willing team of attorneys. They would like to hold a few town halls right here in our area. So I'm going to announce the dates that are confirmed so far. On December 14th, which is a Tuesday, at 6 p.m., Anchor Church down in Dulac.
Okay, Anchor Church in Dulac.
On December 16th at 6 p.m., Vision Christian Center in Berg.
Okay, Vision in Berg.
Yes.
16th, okay.
And then on Monday, January 10th, that's going to be after the holidays, at Christian Assembly at 6 p.m. And there will be a few more that will be scheduled shortly. And what I'll do is I'll post those dates on my state rep Facebook page, and I'll set it to where it stays at the top for people to refer to. It's a good place to go to learn more about successfully filing an insurance claim, and you'll learn little tidbits like if your insurance company issues a check and you get the repairs done, but it ends up costing more than they anticipated, it's not like when you file a lawsuit and when you accept the check, you're done. With an insurance company, when you have additional cost, maybe because materials went up, for example, what you do is you file a supplemental claim.
Correct.
So people shouldn't panic. They should step into one of these town halls and learn more useful tips like that.
And how to do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of dates coming up, let's talk a little bit about this special session and the reapportionment.
Yes. Well, the census numbers finally came in about a year late, and so now we are setting up to go into a special session for the purpose of redrawing district lines according to the census numbers. And that will be held sometime in February. The date has not been announced yet. We just anticipate that it will be in February, and they'll have to work around Mardi Gras holidays, for example.
Sure.
And we have a town hall for redistricting coming up in January, and that's going to be held at Nichols. And if I can find the date for you right here, I will give that to you in just a second. Yes, the Redistricting Roadshow is what they're calling it. That'll be at Nichols State University at 5:30 p.m., and that's open to the public, where you'll get to come in and hear discussion and explanation and view some maps, some proposed maps.
About why.
Yes.
And how they've done it. There's a lot going on about COVID shots, and more importantly, about the ages and what some of the mandates may be. Just walk us through this as y'all have had to deal with it as policymakers.
Well, for much of the whole COVID experience, we have not been in session.
Right.
And so as legislators, we can only actually pass laws while we're in session.
Right. You can't do that virtually.
No. You have to actually be in a true public session that's called, and it has dates and a starting date and ending date and all that.
Right.
So we can't actually change any laws right now while we're out of session. But it doesn't mean that we are not keeping up with the issues and influencing policy as it's being made as much as we are able to. And under certain emergency provisions, it seems that we don't get a whole lot of say, or at least our say is ignored, but I won't go political right now. Anyway, the latest hot topic right now in Louisiana is this. The State Department of Health has proposed a rule. Now, as an agency, that's their version of law. An agency has the authority to make rules for whatever their area of authority is based on that agency. So the Department of Health makes rules by following the administrative code process. And they have issued a proposed rule that would mandate COVID shots for students. And as the FDA may approve or may recommend the shots for different age ranges, their proposed rule would cover all ages as they become recommended. So as of right now, if their proposed rule went into effect right now, it would only apply to students 16 and up. But very shortly, it will apply to students 5 to 11 even. And eventually, maybe a few months down the road, it could apply to babies in daycare. And so this has parents all over the state very alarmed, because people believe that when a shot is mandated for school, you have to have it. And you do. That's the recommendation of the department.
Right.
We do have opt-out provisions in our law. In case someone has a medical contraindication, their doctor could say, this student should not get this shot for health reasons. If a parent has a philosophical or religious objection to any particular shot, they can write a note to the school saying that they object to it, and the student would not have to comply with getting that shot in order to attend. And if that's the process they follow, when there's a declared outbreak of a particular disease that is vaccine preventable, that student who has not had either the illness or the shot would be made to stay home. For example, let's think of something that's not a hot controversy right now, like measles. Okay, as a child, I had measles.
Right.
I'm not even sure there was a measles vaccine when I was a little bitty kid, but either way, I had measles, so I didn't really need the vaccine. I was already going to be immune. So if there had been a measles outbreak at my school, even though I had not had the vaccine, I had the shot, the disease itself, so I could have stayed at school.
Right, because of body building up antibodies.
Because of immunity. We would expect that I have full immunity. And so that's how that would work. If the Department of Health rule stands and students are required to get a COVID shot in order to come to school or daycare, If the parent objects to that for medical, philosophical, or religious reasons, they could simply file an exemption. As long as the law doesn't change, those exemptions stand. So Monday of this week, we had a House Health and Welfare hearing concerning the proposed rule, and the committee heard hours of testimony from lawmakers, from medical experts, from the general public, and after many hours of discussion, the committee voted overwhelmingly, bipartisanly, to reject the rule change. And so at this moment, the rule change is rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the governor has gone on record and said that he will overrule the committee. And so the governor, we anticipate that the governor will overturn the objection, and then the rule would go into effect. Now, if that happens, we expect that the Attorney General is going to file suit, and then we go to court, and here we are.
Right, and we walk this litigious battle, if you will, about lawmaking and decision-making, but that's how the procedure works.
Yes.
When the governor doesn't necessarily follow the recommendation of the bipartisan representatives.
And this is supposed to be the beauty of having a government set up with checks and balances from the three distinct branches. This is all how it's supposed to work.
Part about that process,
Yes.
right. But again, not everything works perfectly. You know, we know that, and we have to kind of figure those things out. But they're also talking about bringing COVID shots to kids at school, correct?
Yes. There is a draft of a letter that I've seen that the Department of Health is expecting to send to school superintendents all over the state. It seems that there is federal money available to the Department of Health to be able to provide COVID shots on school campuses. You could call it a mobile vax unit, but it's not necessarily going to be like a bookmobile. It could just be, you know, a few staff members showing up at the school.
Right.
And so the superintendents will have the option, actually each school, I suppose, would have the option of having mobile vaccines available for students for COVID.
If they chose.
As far as I know, that letter has not gone out yet.
Okay.
And when I have spoken to our local school superintendents, they are saying, we are here to provide education. We would prefer to not take them up on this offer and let parents bring their children to pediatricians.
And to get it wherever they can.
Yes.
So, but these COVID conversations are going to continue. These vaccination conversations are going to continue. And we appreciate you bringing the updates as you have them. We thank you for joining us.
Sure. Glad to be here.
All right. And that's Beryl Amedee, and we appreciate her leadership. All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, a whole lot more local programming when we continue.